Good morning. My name is Reverend Richard Pacheco, and we are here today with Unity of Northeast Pennsylvania, a positive path for spiritual living. And as always, we are grateful for you joining us here on our Sunday gathering online. And lots going on this weekend. I just finished coming from convention. I'll give you a quick overview. I'm not going to bore you too much, but there are some great things coming out. We have Father's Day today. So happy Father's Day to the fathers, and our prayer for today will be centered around our daily word for that today. Yesterday, we know that we celebrated Juneteenth, which is now a national holiday, and today is the summer solstice, longest day of the year. So lots going on. The energy's a little bit overwhelming, and so we pray that you are centered today, and we hope that we can help you center in a little bit today. As I said, I came from the 2021 convention. Well, not came; it was virtual this year. As though we're coming into that end, hopefully, of the pandemic and COVID era, they continue to be precautious, and we had our virtual one. Um, like I said, a lot of good things. I've heard some really good feedback. I got to meet some great other ministers. Looking forward to a lot of things, and even got to speak to someone as we were talking about. Just introducing myself today was kind of hard using the title, knowing that I am ordained. And someone reminded me, you took 8 years to get here, and you're here today. So enjoy it, celebrate it, use it. Some of the other things, I heard the new CEO and executive director of Unity, as he talked about modernizing a lot of things, making sure we're all speaking the same language, and on top of that, a return to basics, which I really agree with. Imagine building a house with no foundation. It just will topple over. And I've felt that sometimes, where I've gone somewhere and expected to hear one thing because that's what I was looking for, and then found out I'm hearing so many other things. And there's nothing wrong with being creative, but we want to hold on to, at least the foundations, and incorporate the foundations every time we have something new coming up. So I see a lot of good things. I got to meet, like I said, a lot of good people. I have some gifts coming in, from books to posters and things that are coming over. Also, some curriculums. One of the, what do you call it? One of the benefits of being a reverend, an ordained reverend now, is that I can now help other people get credits toward titles, certifications, and even if they decided to become a licensed Unity teacher or minister down the road, I can help them now get those credits. So, of course, if any one of you are interested, we can definitely look at that. I was also blessed with some curriculums, one around the Unity basics, which is focused on a little bit of everything we do in Unity to give that basic overview. And I've been looking for something easy enough but comprehensive enough that I can carry with me wherever. And I found that. I think the second thing I was blessed with is my wife is always asking me, well, how do I explain Unity? And I was given a one-day seminar as well on how to explain Unity to someone else. Because when we look at building our community, the best way to build it is always through word of mouth and through example. So let's keep that in mind. And again, I'm here however I can help, as always, whether it's prayer, whether it's a class you want to take or you've wanted to take. Reach out to me. I'd be more than glad to see what my timeline is and how we can fit that in to help you out. That being said, don't want to bore you too much more, but it has been a great week, and I am grateful. Lots of insights personally, as well as, you know, knowing what's coming to happen. I put out a video on Facebook and YouTube kind of thanking everyone. It's hard to sit there. I didn't want it to become the Academy Awards where I'm sitting there thanking every person individually. But you know who you are, the gifts that you've given, the messages you've given me, the the talks that I needed. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. And as I said in the video, each and every one of you, whether you're live or I've never met you, but you've been virtual and you've messaged me, I am so grateful to you for being a part of my life in this journey. So, said I wasn't going to bore you. Let's go ahead and move on. At this time, let's go ahead and center into this moment, just breathing in. And if you feel so moved, go ahead and close your eyes, or at least soften your gaze by looking down as I read today's daily word, and it's Father's love. I give thanks for my father and all expressions of fatherly love. I treasure my childhood memories of feeling safe when my father or a father figure in my life was nearby. I remember my father's encouragement as I was learning to ride a bike, as we explored the wonders of nature together, as he taught me to use money wisely. Even when I made youthful mistakes, my father's sometimes stern but always wise judgment helped me find a way back to my right path. I give thanks for both the sacred human and the unfolding expression of God within my father and everyone who has blessed me with fatherly love. Today I pray for my father and for all fathers, affirming for each of them growing wisdom, understanding, and willingness to nurture others with a fatherly, encouraging love. And from John 15:9, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. So if nobody else has, I am wishing all fathers of all kinds a happy Father's Day. I also want to take a few moments to just remember and bring into our hearts the fathers that have passed on, whether it is our father, a father figure in our life. I was blessed to not only have my own children, but also be a stepfather, as well as being a father figure through many of my martial arts trainings, where I've taught martial arts and brought teens into my life. So it is such a blessing to be that, and I'm grateful for that as well. And I'm grateful for all the father figures who've been in my life. And we just remember those who have passed on and know that their journey is on to the next life and on to love. So with that, take a quick video and then we'll come back with our meditation.
God is spirit, and when we turn our attention to it, Spirit pours life and power into us. As for all the marvelous works that Jesus did, he never claimed his personality as their author. The Son can do nothing on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likewise. But the outer acts are secondary. Outer acts are a result of that connection to God within. It is to this inner realm that we must look for the transforming power of humanity. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be a leader in the spiritual awakening of humanity as you demonstrate life, love, harmony, and peace.
Good morning. And as always, let's quickly go through a few of our announcements real quick. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who came and celebrated with me on Monday for the ordination. It was a long day for me, but I am truly grateful for everyone that was there, as well as everyone online who wished me well. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you. I know I've said that a number of times, but I truly hope that you feel the gratitude and how each one of you played a part in this mission for me. I'm still getting used to the title, but as they told me, I've earned it. Utilize it, and utilize it to the best of my ability. As always, if you wish to give to our ministry, go ahead and go to unityofnepa.org, where you can use our contribute button. As always, if you're a phone person and you want to turn it lengthwise, you'll see the button. On YouTube is our PayPal link. You can click on the P, or you can mail it in, and our wonderful office staff will work on it and take care of that for you. As always, Amazon Smile allows you to choose us as your nonprofit. It is every little bit, and this week happens to be Prime Day, where they have a lot of big sales going on. So if you're joining in on that, please remember us as your nonprofit. We'll be more than glad to take care of that for you and utilize that money toward building that ministry in our community to the best of its ability. With that being said, let's quickly go through Our affirmations and the vision we hold is in oneness we co-create a world inspired by the practice of love, peace, and harmony for all. What is ours to do is to serve our community through affirmative prayer, teachings, and service. And again, what do we believe in? That there is one power, one presence active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And with that, let us go ahead and move toward our meditation. Good morning. And as always, our meditation today is taken from a personal page of my own. And it comes from the work of being self-worth and seeing ourselves as other people see us. I have people who have come and, told me things or encouraged me to do things or encouraged me to be something. And something inside me pushes it away because I know in my heart that I feel like I'm not worthy to get there. And I take a look at my ministerial journey and how it took 8 years to get here, but I'm here. How many of you out there, as always, has somewhere or something they wanted to do, and maybe you felt that you were too old, too young, not enough time, not worthy. But your true self is out there. And our meditation today is a meditation that was gifted to me years ago. And it helped me move forward in my journey, even though I should have repeated the exercise a few times. So I want to share that with you today. So if you feel so moved, go ahead and close your eyes and just begin to relax. And let us just take in a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, let us just relax a little bit more into our chair, into our bed, wherever you're watching this. Let's take another deep breath in. This time let's hold as we collect all the worry of yesterday and the anxiety of tomorrow. And we begin to just let it out. And on the third breath, let's just breathe into this moment, taking in all the love, joy, and peace and harmony that surrounds us in this allness that we call God. And let us just relax and breathe out as we center in. And we release the outer world and move into the center and nature of the Christ within ourselves. That divine space that even though it's always there, we sometimes do not see it. So let's just continue to breathe. And as we breathe, I want you to see yourself where you are. Feel the chair. Feel your hands on your thighs, or if they're in prayer position. And I want you to visualize yourself in that in your mind. And we're going to go on a journey. So with our next breath, I want you to feel yourself floating away, beginning to move away from your body and just your consciousness flying. As you begin to move upward, you begin to see yourself in whatever position you're in. knowing that it's in a peaceful place. And with every breath we get a little bit higher, we begin to see and move to the outside of our home. And we can see our home and all our surrounding neighbors. And with the next breath, we just continue to go higher. We begin to see the city we live in. We continue to move higher as we start to see our states and the beautiful countrysides as we continue to move higher. And we begin to see the oceans and the land masses that we call our country. We continue to move higher as we move into this area of space, as we begin to see the beautiful Earth, that planet that's given us life and sustenance and food, and just taking a moment to admire it. Suddenly we feel pulled, as if we have a direction to go. Take a deep breath in. And as we breathe out, see ourselves just moving through space at a speed as if we know where we're going. And let's just continue to breathe for a few moments as we just enjoy that feeling of flight, peacefulness, and silence as we move towards something. And we know that our GPS is taking us where we need to go. Let's take a deep breath in. As we breathe out, we notice we're starting to slow down. And we begin to see what looks like our planet again. But there's just something a little bit different. The waters seem bluer. Our land seems much greener. Our sky looks clearer. And we begin to move toward it. And as we get closer, we get to that point where we begin to see what looks familiar. We begin to see our country. We begin to see the state we live in. We begin to see our city. And we begin to see our home. But just something's a little bit different. It feels different. It feels peaceful, joyful, loving, abundant. It feels like we lack for nothing. And then we hear footsteps. And we feel the presence of something behind us. Doesn't feel threatening. Feels loving. Take a deep breath in, and we let it out. And as we turn around, we notice that the person standing behind us is us. It's actually a mirror image of yourself as who you truly are, or as you truly want to be. Let's take a moment to take it in. As he talks to you, how does he sound? What do they look like? How are they dressed? What do they smell like? What is the energy you feel from there? Let's take a quick moment and just bask in that, looking at yourself in the truest form of who you believe you to be, and what divine inspiration says you truly are. Let's take another deep breath in. And now that you know how the person looks and feels, I want you to step toward the person and realize that you are going to integrate with that person. As you step into the figure, you notice that you meld into the person, and that person becomes you. How do you feel? What thoughts are you having? Look at yourself. Look at your true self. What is divine inspiration telling you that you are and what you look like? How wonderful it feels to be this person. How wonderful to be and feel like everything you're meant to be. And as you take a deep breath, you notice that you and this person are one, and you begin to float back. You rise above the house, again above your city, above your state, above the country, above the world, and you say thank you for helping me find myself. And you begin to take that journey home as you continue to fly through space. And in a few moments you realize that you see your home again. And you see your planet. And things look different because you're now seeing it through new eyes. You begin to come closer. And as you enter back into your home, you see yourself taking what you've integrated back into yourself. Again, whether you're seated or laying down, see yourself integrate to the person there, bringing those feelings, bringing those ideas, bringing the knowledge that this is who you truly are. And that today begins that journey to not only make it true, but to also know that from this moment on, you will live your truest self. Obstacles are nothing more than challenges to be overcome and small speed bumps in the road. Knowing that when self-doubt comes in, you can take a breath, remember the person you are, and let it go. And just for today, you will live your best life in this moment. Engulfed in love, engulfed in joy, engulfed in inner peace, knowing that this allness is in and through you. And this version of you is not only for yourself, for the people who see you, so they too can know who they truly are. And I leave you in peace and love as we take this last breath and bring ourselves back to this time, back to this place. And you can gently open your eyes when you feel so fit.
Good morning. Today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of you who are celebrating. And it is also summer solstice, which is the day in which we celebrate the longest period of daylight in the entire year. We also celebrate the life-giving force of the sun. The common thread between both of these celebrations is that at their heart, they are celebrations of qualities of the divine masculine. We associate the masculine with the sun, with solar energy, with action, structure, taking risk, taking charge, logic. Essentially, it's the doing over being. Today is a potent day with energy that is supportive of each of us exploring the balance for ourselves between the masculine and feminine. Divine masculine and divine feminine are separate from gender or sex or any male-female orientation. Divine masculine and divine feminine are energetic qualities that each and every one of us possess individually and then collectively as we come together in groups. Each of those groups contains a balance or an imbalance, a flavor, a quality of an interplay, perhaps, of the divine masculine and the divine feminine as well. And each of those groups as the ripples go out. So today we are very supported in the wondering about the balance that exists between the masculine and feminine within ourselves, within our family units, our communities, and the world at large. We are being supported by the universe, by the energies that exist in this exploration. And so if you have some time today, it might be a worthwhile place for you to sit down and ask yourself some questions, or a worthwhile idea, intention for you to carry into your practices. So you would think that that would be the center focus of my lesson today. And for a while, I thought it would be. But for some reason, that lesson would not take shape, would not take form as the week progressed. And so what kept coming forward for me was love. So I'm going to lean into my divine feminine. I'm going to lean into my intuition and my trust. And I am going to step forward in discussion of, in expression of, in support of love. And as it pertains specifically to our self-care, our spiritual, and our life practices, because honestly, our self-care and our spiritual practices are our life practices. So I'd like to start by talking a little bit about how I have come to see love. I believe that love is the underlying animating force of all of life, of the universe, of God. By extension, I also believe that love is the underlying animating force of each and every one of us, as we are never separate, as we are a part, an extension of, an expression of the divine, an expression of life, an expression of the universe. We are naturally an expression of the underlying animating force of life, universe, God, which is love. I also believe that it is incredibly valuable for love to be the underlying animating force for our spiritual, self-care, and life practices. What might that look like? Well, to be honest, I believe that it already is. I believe that if love is the underlying animating force of the universe, life, God, and therefore is the underlying animating force of each and every one of us, and it cannot help but be the underlying animating force of our spiritual self-care and life practices. It is the underlying animating force of all things. And I also believe that we forget, and that the forgetting is sacred. The forgetting leads us to the remembering, to the joy of the remembering. We here on earth live in And we live in duality, right? We live in night and day. We live under the forces of gravity and of being here on Earth. And we learn things by contrast. And so in our forgetting that we are love, we are given the joy of remembering, the task, if you will, of remembering, the challenge of remembering that we are love. And so some points of inquiry that we can use to help us remember, especially as in our self-care and our spiritual practices, right, is that we can ask ourselves, is love at the center of my relationship with myself? So often when it comes to love, we find ourselves, we find it a little bit easier to be an expression of love for other people, in support of life, in support of our family, in support of our friends, our community, in support of earth or animals or whatever passion that we have a tendency to see ourselves as an outpouring of love. And we forget that we are also the recipients of not just the love of others, but the love of ourselves. But that's where it starts. So a question to ask yourself in your own spiritual and self-care practices as it pertains to love is love at the center of my relationship with myself? Am I using my self-care and spiritual practices to love myself, to express love to myself? So often when we come to our spiritual and self-care practices, we use them as, or we come to think of them perhaps as another thing on the to-do list, another space where we might fall short. It's a space in which we might sit in self-judgment. We might even use them as a way to kind of punish ourselves, right? What might this look like? Well, take a day where you come to seated in meditation. And on that day, your mind is very busy. You have a lot of difficulty settling in. Your body is shifty. And you just cannot seem to really focus. You don't feel as though you slip into that space of inner peace that you touch as thoroughly, perhaps, that well of wisdom, of peace and calm within yourself that maybe you're accustomed to experiencing or you believe you should experience in your meditation practice. When we get up from that meditation practice and the experience of it is neutral. It is what it is. It is only a reflection to ourselves of a moment in time and the amount of energy that is inside of us, right? But so often when we get up from that meditation practice, we have self-talk happening, maybe consciously or unconsciously, that is not loving, that is not supportive. We believe that we have failed to meditate, right? We didn't do it right. We're imperfect. We can't even sit still and be quiet for a few minutes correctly. And this is not us using our self-care or spiritual practices to love ourselves. So how might we take that same experience of an agitated, busy sit time and use it to love ourselves? Well, maybe while we're in the sit time, right, and we're observing the amount of energy that is swirling around inside of us, maybe we take an opportunity to see if we can ground that energy down. Maybe we can ask ourselves, we can use this space, this experience, this observation of ourselves to bring a sense of curiosity and wonder, a sense of inquiry. Like, oh, this is interesting. Why is it that I feel so busy inside right now? Isn't it interesting that I'm unable to concentrate, to focus? Wow, I can't even count my breaths today. Bringing a space of inquiry and curiosity naturally brings in a little space for love. So we can use the space in the practice itself to bring love in, to express love for ourselves, instead of, oh, why can't I settle down? Why? We can merely say, oh, wow, I'm having a difficult time settling down into meditation today. There are a lot of spaces in my body that feel a little tight or tense. My mind is incredibly active. My breath feels a little shallow. Now, maybe in that space, while we're in the practice, we might be able to work with ourselves a little bit. We might be able to bring ourselves around by grounding the excess energy down into the earth, by calling in the support of our guides or our angels. We might imagine ourselves wrapping this extra energy, or wrapping ourselves in love and support. We might even ask ourselves, what do we need right now to feel a little more centered and grounded? So those are ways that we could love ourselves through the practice, that we could introduce loving ourselves into our practice, even when it's not going to plan. The next place for us to look to express love to ourselves is post-practice. So when we get up from that sit spot and we're aware that it didn't go to plan, or it didn't unfold the way that we hoped or expected, now is the time for us to notice what we're saying to ourselves. And how can we love ourselves after it? How can we express love to ourselves in the moments after something goes well, or as expected, or the way we might have hoped, and after it doesn't go well, as expected, or the way we might have hoped? This is where the rubber meets the road, because this becomes our life practice. How we treat ourselves, and this is why spiritual practices are so interesting to me, because I see them as a petri dish, right? They are an opportunity for us to explore our tendencies off of the mat or off of the cushion out in the world. If we are harsh with ourselves when we are sitting in meditation, or when we are stretching or practicing yoga or walking in nature, or whatever is our spiritual practice, our self-care practices, if we are harsh taskmasters with ourselves through our self-care and our spiritual practices, we are also harsh taskmasters with ourselves, and likely with others, in our life practices. So it is so valuable for us to consciously and intentionally introduce and express the intention of loving ourselves in our self-care and our spiritual practices, through our self-care and our spiritual practices, and then after our self-care and spiritual practices into our life practice. Because how we treat ourselves after a meditation practice does not go to plan is how we're treating ourselves after some life event, pick big or small, does not go to plan. And if we're being harsh with ourselves when a 5-minute breath practice or a 5-minute meditation doesn't go well, when we don't do it right, then chances are really good that we're being harsh with ourselves in our life practices, in the small things too, right? Because in the grand scheme of life, that 5-minute meditation practice, that 5-minute breath practice, that sit is not make or break. That is not a life-altering experience. So if we are choosing to be harsh with ourselves as a result, if we are withholding the expression of love from ourselves under such relatively minor circumstances, then chances are really good that that is a key messenger for us to look out in our lives and see where we are also being harsh with ourselves in less than life-changing, life-altering circumstances, in the minor things. This is why it is incredibly valuable for us to practice in the circumstances that seem somewhat inconsequential, right? Practice love. Waiting to practice love only when absolutely needed makes no sense. Moment life, right? When we love ourselves through dropping our coffee all over the floor and breaking our favorite mug, when we love ourselves through taking a break, when we're outside in the heat doing yard work, even though a task needs to be done, when we love ourselves through planning a lesson and it just wouldn't come together, then we are preparing ourselves to be prepared to love ourselves through the bigger things, through the health crises, through the changes, the transitions, the major challenges, the things that feel like the biggest, most insurmountable obstacles in our life. If we have not practiced loving ourselves through the less consequential joys and missteps and sorrows, then how can we possibly expect ourselves to love ourselves through the real pressure cooker situations? We are asking of ourselves in that moment a virtually impossible task because we haven't practiced it. We've practiced punishing ourselves. We've practiced being harsh with ourselves. We've practiced judging ourselves. And so when we are in that moment, when we most need love from ourselves, we've never practiced it. And what will come forward is what we have practiced. And so my invitation to each and every one of you, to all of us, to me, this is my invitation to me all the time, is to practice loving yourself. Practice loving yourself through it all. Because then when you really need it, you know how to do it. When your inner resources are low and you're exhausted and you're burned out and your health maybe is not as good, or whatever you're coming in contact with, and you really need yourself to show up for yourself in a loving way, you will know how to do it. That path will be the worn path. Loving yourself will be the default position. You will be available to give yourself what you need because you will have practiced it when you didn't need it nearly as much. So I wonder if there's ever a time that we don't need our own love. I believe that love is the underlying animating force of all things. I believe that love is the underlying animating force of you. I believe it is the underlying animating force of me. And I believe that when we remember that, magic happens. Life is beautiful, and we're reminded, we just remember who we truly are, each and every one of us. I am sending so much love to each and every one of you today. Again, Happy Father's Day to all of you who are celebrating it. Maybe take a moment today to celebrate you, whether you are a father or a mother or a daughter or a son. Just celebrate you because you are. Maybe go out and celebrate the sun today. Honor solstice. Honor the life-giving force of the warmth of the sun. Maybe hug a tree. Appreciate the beauty of a flower. Listen to birdsong. My invitation to you now and forever is to love yourself through it. Love yourself through it all. And see what happens. I hope that magic unfolds for you, that wonder opens back up, and that you remember that you are loved. I love each and every one of you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
As always, a wonderful talk. And as I always say, at least take one thing this week and put it into practice. That's what makes our practical Christianity and the practicum that we give important. I picked up a book for myself called Use the Truth You Know, Unity Principles and Premises by Paul Hasselback. Reverend Paul Hasselback is also known for writing the book Heart-Centered Metaphysics. And I'm going to have a chance to be in class with him this week where he's actually teaching the book. So it works for me where I can have the book I was going to read this week be taught to me by the author. So I get a chance to practice it myself. Talking about practice, here's a point where we get to practice the law of giving and receiving, or the law of circulation. So if you have your gift in your hand, go ahead and hold it close to your heart as we affirm divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And let us see it going out doing the great things that is meant to do in this ministry. Let's take a moment to bless our children as we bring them to our heart and our forefront as we say, we bless you, we love you, and we see the divinity in each of you, and we see you doing wonderful and great things. And for ourselves, let us go ahead and recite the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me, and we affirm for ourselves that I am light. The love of God enfolds me, I am love. The power of God protects me, and I am power. The presence of God watches over me, and I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and I am divine. And so it is. Amen. And as always, we are grateful for you being here today. We are grateful for you joining us, whether it's live or later on. Hopefully you got something great to work on this week. And if no one else has told you, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I bid you namaste, as that big divinity in you is seen by the divinity in me. And I will see each and every one of you next Sunday.